Not being able to see when sandblasting really sucks, so let's go over what I went through to add light and stop the etching inside of the glass on my Harbor Freight Sandblast cabinet. If you do any heavy sandblasting, you realize pretty quickly that the left half of the glass gets to the point where you can't see a damn thing out of it. I was adding PPF to the inside piece of glass in an effort to prolong its life and make it last for more than a week. The PPF definitely slows down the process, but let's try something a little different. This video was filmed over a few months because I really wanted to test this system out and see what kind of improvements needed to be made, and spoiler alert, it took a few tries to get it right. During the first round of testing, I did go ahead and first apply PPF just in case so I wouldn't have to get any more glass cut. The inside piece of glass for me has always been a sacrificial lamb, and as soon as it got too cloudy, I'd just toss it in the trash. A 24 by 36 inch piece of glass can be bought at Lowe's, and you get 3 12 by 24 inch pieces of glass for relatively cheap, but I wanted to avoid etching the glass in the first place by using a fine mesh screen. I've seen people use a much wider mesh, kind of like a screen door would have in it, and how it helps is that as the media gets reflected off of the part you're blasting and towards the glass, even if it can't pass through the opening of the screen, it's slowed down dramatically and doesn't have the speed to damage the glass. I went a different route and used a mesh that's a lot finer in hopes that the media won't be able to get through the screen at all. That's the hopes, at least. Since I had the PPF down, I used some CA glue and activator in a few spots to keep the screen in place during the install. Links to everything I use in the video are in the description below, and if at any point you have a question, feel free to leave a comment and I usually do my best to answer them. Go ahead and give a subscribe while you're down there, I'd really appreciate it. I put it all back together and used it for around a month and a half, a few times a week for a few hours at a time, and it's good, but it can be better. My main issue is still the lack of visibility. After a month and a half, I could still see through the glass in most areas, but the light in the cabinet was lacking, which was making it very hard to see what areas I had done versus what areas needed to be done on the parts that I was blasting. This was especially noticeable when I wasn't directly under the lights. My interior lights are upgraded, but I just needed more power. Speaking of power, the new light will need to turn on and off with the existing light, so I tapped into the far light socket for the power source. To keep it simple, I want to use one of these Y-style bulb holders, but it doesn't fit into the fixture. Not a problem, I just cut it off at the ridge with the Dremel, and now it fits perfectly. One side will get a bulb, and the other will get this 3-prong adapter to send power to the new light. The new light is a 2-foot LED shop light that came in a 2-pack from Amazon. Initially I did some testing to see if I can fit both, but one light at the top of the glass seemed to give the best output. For the install, I marked out where I wanted them to go, drilled a couple holes, and used some machine screws and nuts that I had lying around. It included a few different wiring options, and they can be linked together if you'd like. For the wiring, I ended up cutting one of the switch leads since the provided pigtail wasn't quite long enough. I always try to keep a couple of these cord repair ends from Harbor Freight around for situations just like this. Once the cord was made, it was simply a matter of clipping the light into the bracket and plugging it in. I changed the gloves while I was in there, and this set that I got from Amazon has held up better than any pair I've ever had, and I've gone through a lot of them. Link is down below in the description. There was a good bit of dust on the PPF, but overall it didn't seem to be scratched up. I decided against adding the PPF this time since it does distort your visibility. It's like rubbing a thin layer of Vaseline on the glass, so I wanted to give this test a try without it. To give the screen something to stick to, I used some painter's tape and did the same method of using CA glue and activator. This stuff is great because it dries almost instantly, but if you only have regular super glue, you can sprinkle a little baking soda on it for the same effect. I replaced the light bulbs that I had in with some brighter LED units, and I gotta say, the visibility is amazing. It's been this way for around 6 months of heavy use, and I haven't had to change the glass once. When it gets hard to see because there's dust behind the screen, I just take my air hose and blow it off. It was an inexpensive fix to a visibility problem that's been plaguing my Sandblast cabinet for years. I plan on covering some other features of my modified Harbor Freight Sandblast cabinet because it took me a long time to get it working as good as it does. Keep grinding away on those projects, stay lucid, and I'll see you in the next one.